So my husband, Winston, and I, we've been married for 15 years, and it feels like a solid chunk of time. But in the grand scheme of things, we are still green, still learning about marriage every single day. And so today, I'm going to talk about 3 pieces of advice that we were given when it comes to money and marriage that really has helped us. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And just so you guys know, I'm always a little hesitant to give parenting advice and marriage advice because I think you can change a lot and your opinions can change. And we do not have all the answers. So I always kind of hesitate. But this was advice that was given to us, which honestly has helped us so much when we're looking at our money, but also other areas of our life. So the first piece of advice was the triangle theory. So this is where when a problem comes up, it's you and your spouse versus the problem. So it's kind of looks like a triangle, right? So you and your spouse are at the bottom and the problem is out there because it is so easy to make your spouse the enemy. We're like, why are you doing that? Why did you do that? But what's the actual problem that we're looking at? And so working together to identify the issue and to look out and be like, okay, that's the issue. So what do we do about that? And there is something really uniting about it. It takes some tries to get down to this theory for sure. Winston and I are not perfect at it. But it does help because there is something about looking at an actual problem to help find the solution to that problem versus looking at your spouse and being like, you have to fix this and fix that. Or they're looking at you and being like, fix this, fix that. And whenever, I've learned this from Dr. John Deloney, you enter into conflict and you're saying, well, you, it never really goes right. It doesn't because the other person gets really defensive. And so it's always about coming back to you. But looking at the problem together out there has helped so much. So the triangle theory, as an example, it's like, okay, well, one of you is like, okay, I'm going to come home from work at this time, but it never happens, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, you say that you're going to come home at this time, but you're not. And it's always later. Can you just give me a heads up? So looking at that as time management is the problem. So what is going on that's causing either the communication not to happen or something at work that continues to come up, or you're just not planning well, right? But making that the problem. Or if maybe, the wife is overspending in a certain area, it's not like, oh my gosh, you're so irresponsible. It's you. No, let's look at overspending as the problem. Why is it the problem? Is it because maybe, the budget that was set, the number that was set in that category is not realistic? Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe it is like, oh yeah, I do just like to spend money and sometimes I get a lot out of control and I don't spend what we said we were going to. And so I need to be thinking through why I do that, right? So it's all of that. But the triangle theory, I love. Number 2 is to ask yourself what needs fixing within you. So this takes a lot of humility on this end. But sometimes we can look at the other party with a lot of, judgment and resentment, and maybe some mistrust. But you have to realize, okay, all of that can be very true, very honest. But then also, what is going on inside of you? What are things about you? Because sometimes one spouse can take all the brunt of something, and there is something to say about, okay, is there anything within me that needs healing? And I can say, yes. We all do. And so there's something about that that's really uniting within couples. But again, it does take a lot of humility. But when it comes to differences in money, I see this a lot where if you're more of the nerd and you like things organized and all of this, you can look at the free spirit and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so irresponsible. What are they doing? They don't care about details. Oh my gosh, they need to grow up, whatever. But you can learn something from that free spirit. And then the same free spirit, you can learn something from the nerd. So we can always be looking to each other and knowing, okay, I can learn something from you because there's something in me that constantly needs to be learning and growing. And so there's something really humble about that approach, which I love. All right, before I share more, I want to tell you about one of our amazing sponsors, Christian Healthcare Ministry. You guys, health insurance costs are only moving one way, and that way isn't down. The wait times are longer, and it's harder than ever to get anything approved. And if you feel like the system is working against you, try Christian Healthcare Ministries, a biblically based alternative to health insurance. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families take care of healthcare costs, stay true to their values, and avoid getting tied down by miles of red tape. You guys, there is a better way. CHM programs start as low as $98 a month. So find out more and join at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. And the third thing that someone told us, and it was so true and so real, was be radically honest and transparent. Dr. John Deloney talks about how secrets will destroy relationships. And you can start to hold a grudge sometimes over something that maybe you just don't want to say, or maybe you're thinking something, you have a fear, but you don't want to say it out loud. The more honest you can be with your spouse and the more open you are, yeah, there's a risk there because you could either be rejected in that, or they may not be able to like fulfill the thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I have this fear. Can you help me fix that? And if they can't, then what does that mean? Like, I don't know. There can be some back and forth there. There's a level of emotional risk. But if your spouse is someone that you trust and that you have respect for, and you're like, yeah, they can hold it, that there's something about both of you, both parties coming in and saying, golly, that I keep having this thought. I just want to say it out loud. Like, there's something about that is so healthy and so cleansing. And sometimes you want to bring a third party in even, right? I love marriage counseling or therapy. I think it's fantastic. But the more honest and intimate you can be emotionally with what's going on with you, the deeper connected you and your spouse are going to be. And it can take practice if you're a pretty guarded person. That may not come natural to you. But there's something in that that's really beautiful. And there were older couples that told us that consistently. And then I feel like when we really that clicked and that happened, like something changes. And it's really, really beautiful. Now, I always have the caveat when we're talking about money and marriage or just marriage in general, that yeah, if something like really dysfunctional is going on, then bring in a third party. I mean, honestly, there is something about that these tips can only take you so far. If there's like really deep, painful work that needs to be done, do that, okay? So I always say that with the caveat. But if you and your spouse are continuing to wanting to grow and learn, again, these are 3 things that have helped us throughout our marriage. And obviously don't have the perfect marriage by any means, but I am grateful that Winston does make me feel very heard and safe in conversations. And that is something that we have worked together and grown in, both of us having that. And again, not perfect at it, but it has helped over our 15 years of marriage. All right. If you are, though, looking for a fun and memorable way to connect with your spouse and to get on the same page financially, make sure to check out our next Money and Marriage Getaway. It is a great weekend where Dr. John Deloney and I dive deep into the subject of money and marriage, both of these, because together it can be very, very complicated. We kind of scratched the surface just with this video, but it is a weekend away here in Nashville at Ramsey Solutions, and it is so fun, you guys. Like, I always use that word because it is. Like, there is some heavy stuff and we get into some really serious subjects. But overall, there's a beautiful thing about connecting with other people and knowing that you're not alone. And so if you want to check out the tickets, you can check it out down at the link I'll put below and you can claim your spots. But there's a couple for sale right now and we are pumped and would love to see you in Nashville. Now, when I think back on Winston and I's early days, I wish we had known a thing or two about what not to do. But if you are there and you are newlyweds, make sure to check out my episode, Biggest Mistakes Newlyweds Make in the First Year. You can click right here, or if you're listening on podcast, click the link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. Well, hey, you guys. So remember during the pandemic when it seemed like all of our basic necessities cost way more than they used to? I mean, used cars went up. I mean, more than even new cars, which was crazy. Egg prices doubled, toilet paper, we couldn't find. We had to go on eBay to buy it, basically. Well, listen, it is no longer 2020, 2021, which means the cost of used cars now has dropped back to normal. But all other expenses related to cars, like insurance premiums, repair services, and replacement parts, have drastically increased recently. And not to mention interest rates being crazy high over the past couple of years, which affects you big time if you're taking out a car loan, which I don't want you to do that. But yeah, that's another episode for another time. All right, the bottom line is that it's hurting more than ever to own a car right now. But in the spirit of hope, you also have more options than ever before. So let's try to wrap our heads around why some of these costs have drastically increased. And then I'm going to share some tips on how to handle these changes in your budget. So first, let's just look at the numbers. According to a Fox Business article, the cost of auto insurance jumped 1.8% in April of 2024, causing the annual gain to reach about 22.6%. And according to data from the Labor Department, this is the fastest yearly rate on record. Motor insurance is more than 50% more expensive than it was in early 2021 before inflation started increasing. And there are a few reasons for the sudden rise in car insurance costs. So number one, inflation is real. Now, this may feel oversimplified, but it's just true. Inflation has affected every single industry over the last 3 years, and there's no way of knowing if or when this trend is going to go into reverse. So it seems to be here for a little bit. Number 2, the car insurance industry tends to be delayed and reactionary. So we are living in the aftermath of the supply and demand challenges that we faced a couple of years ago following the pandemic. And due to global shortage of production, parts, makes, models, prices have risen to offset that demand. But it's not just car insurance. Now, before I get into that, as parents, we all know that it's not always easy to make sure that our kids stay away from online content that we're wanting them to see. So let me tell you about a solution. TruePlay Games. TruePlay is one app with lots of entertaining faith-based games, videos, and more, all created to help reinforce biblical values and build character. There are no in-app purchases, no chat rooms, no ads, meaning no unpleasant surprises. TruePlay turns screen time into stress-free time for mom and dad. So go to trueplaygames.com/Rachel now. Get 20% off an annual subscription with promo code Rachel20. That's trueplaygames.com/Rachel. All right, like I said earlier, even though the sale price of cars has calmed down a bit since record highs a few years ago, the aftermath is still having an effect. So another aspect of all of this is repair costs. So we're now experiencing a shortage of mechanics and other service professionals who specialize in car repairs, aka essential worker jobs that help keep society running smoothly, literally, are becoming less popular for young adults today. So why is this the case? Well, I think a lot of people just assume, okay, in order to live in our world today, I have to make a lot of money. And in order to make a lot of money, I got to go get a 4-year degree. And that's what I do. And the truth is, you guys, the trades is still a great place to make great money. People are still actually finding, gosh, if you get in a niche part of a trade and you're good at what you do make a lot of money. But again, we're seeing the trades going down and people are going in to get a 4-year degree, to enter in the corporate world. So if you're seeing the cycle, it's making sense now. And again, I'm not sure if it's the chicken or the egg, but I do know that the average American is still feeling the pain of this perfect storm that's happening. If you feel that, you're not alone. The stats of people living paycheck to paycheck are basic necessities like we've talked about, even from food, but everything from owning a car, all of that, we're all feeling that increase. And again, there are unique challenges right now when it comes to cars specifically. But at the end of the day, we have to have them. I mean, for most people, depending on where you live, a car is a necessity. And when you think about your 4 walls, which is at Ramsey what we say have to be paid first, that's food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. Transportation right there. So we're feeling it. Now, the best strategy during tough times like this is to be aware of what's happening in the economy and know what you can control. So it's called personal finance, personal for a reason. Money is always going to have a personal, unique bent to your situation. So here's how you evaluate your situation when it comes to car costs and other things around this. Step 1, make sure the total value of your car, or if you have a family, the total value of all the cars you own does not exceed 50% of your annual salary. So if you make $80,000 household income and you're driving a $50,000 car and your wife is driving a $60,000, SUV, that is more than your annual salary. You have too much car. And so making sure that that is in limit. So anything with motors and wheels needs to be 50% of your annual income. All right, step 2, if you currently have a car loan and you can't pay it off in 18 to 24 months, you need to sell it. That's what you have to do. And what happens is if you bought a car when it was really high, a couple of years ago, like we were talking about, there's a good chance that you're underwater on your car. You bought your car, let's say for $25,000 and maybe, you owe, $20,000 on it, but Kelley Blue Book says you can only sell it for $15,000, which means there's a $5,000 gap. So there is a chance you may have to take out a loan for maybe $10,000, go get a $5,000 car, pay the difference to make sure you have the title, all of that. And again, if you cannot pay it off, selling it, even if you're underwater, might be your best bet. And then step 3, your ultimate goal is to eliminate your car payment altogether. And so not only could this free up, again, hundreds of dollars for you every single month that can help to pay off other debt that you have or go into savings, you want this to be back in your life. The money that is going out in your car payment, you want back to you. So if you're someone who dreads every single time that your car needs gas or an oil change, or new tires, you want to make sure that you are planning for all of that. So if you're doing your budget every month, have car maintenance in there. So that's what Winston and I have, is that we have a car line item, and everything that we need for our car on average per month is in there. And so that's for gas, maintenance, all of it. Even my tire was flat this morning when I went to drive to work, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's fine, I think. But if we have to replace it, it comes out of that line item. So again, planning ahead, because cars cost money, even if you don't have a payment. Still there. Now you might be thinking, well, that sounds great, Rachel. How do I do that? Well, a monthly budget is going to be your best friend. And if you're not doing one, you guys, you need to do a monthly budget. You can download EveryDollar. It is my favorite budgeting app. It is so great. So you can go to everydollar.com/Rachel and actually create your first budget there. And you can do that for free and actually get started to see, hey, where can I find margin in my life? Where can I plan my necessities, which is your car and everything around it, to make sure that you have a plan in place when something happens. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out my episode on 5 cars you should never waste your money on. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. So the term Nepo baby has kind of become a buzzword. And if you're not familiar with that, it basically comes from the word nepotism. And that refers to people who end up working in the same industry as their successful parents. So spoiler alert, I'm kind of a Nepo baby. Talking about money, Dave being my dad. It's true. But also, Ramsey, we talk about changing your family tree and how do you set up the next generation to win. So we're going to talk all about it. And we have some A-list celebrities that have thoughts on this too. So make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so here's the thing. When you are looking at personal finance, you can't ignore that some people have more advantage than others. Okay, this is true. So whether it's generational wealth, whether your parents have helped you pay for a car, pay for college, even having just the knowledge of how to handle money, whatever the factors are, there are people that start off at a different place. Now, is that always a negative thing? Because the word nepotism, or the idea of someone starting off better, usually comes with a negative context. And so there is a degree where that can be true, because I think that's where levels of entitlement and competence, like things that we are not good in life, can be bred out of those things. And we don't want that. But we do want factors of your story to say, hey, if you have been winning financially, then yeah, it's only natural that you want to be able to help your kids, but you want to do it in a really healthy way. And so whether, you are a Nepo baby or not, or you're going to have Nepo babies or not, all parents want their kids to grow up with dignity and resilience. And so I found it so relatable in a sense when I saw a couple of these videos from celebrities where they started talking about this idea in interviews, and it was so funny. So today I'm going to rewatch both of these 2 clips that I saw and kind of give you my thoughts on them. And again, I want to hear what you think as well. All right, so the first one is a clip from good old Ben Affleck. So here's the clip.
This clip that went viral of you with your son looking at these sneakers, which were an absurdly high price, and you had the best line, which I plan to use, which is, I'm rich, you're not.
He was like, yeah, because he wanted these shoes. He like, so see these sneakers. I was like, this sneaker is $6,000. What are you talking about? We're gonna pay what are you gonna do? Mow lawns? Like, you got $6,000? He's like, we have the money. I was like, I have some money. You're broke. As far as I know, you don't have to lend me $5,000. Like, you got nothing. So it's like, listen, you love your kids. You want to give them everything and do everything for them. But I think you definitely do them a disservice by not connecting. You want something meaningful that you want. Yeah. You have to work for that.
Do your kids work?
Yeah, my oldest 2 have jobs. In fact, one just got a job, and one the kind of classic, teenager working in a shop job. I won't say what it is. And my older one who's in college is working and trying to get an internship for the summer and stuff. And yeah, my son who's 13, he's reckoning with that reality right now as he's looking at no shoes in his closet, thinking about, well, he got shoes. just no like crazy expensive fancy shoes. I'm like, well, if you want that, you can work 1,000 hours.
I mean, seriously.
You know what I mean? Like a minimum wage.
So good. I think that's so funny because honestly, like I'm like, and it's the third kid. Like it's the third kid asking for that. And I will never forget, Mom and Dad, they got a new car. This is when I was like in high school or something. And my brother, third kid, he was like early middle school, maybe late elementary school. And he was in the back seat and he was like, man, Dad, we have a nice car. We're doing pretty well. And I will never forget, Dad had the same reaction as Ben Affleck. Dad like turned around. He was like, I have a nice car and I'm doing pretty well. You guys, pointed to all of us in the back seat. He's like, you guys got nothing. And so you just appreciate that. You know, a little old fashioned parenting. Because I do think there's like the stereotype that, you know, if your parents are successful, then automatically you're ruined as kids. And I don't believe that. I think it can be harder. I think it can have its different challenges for sure. But also, I think there's a beauty in what that looks like in changing the next generation. But you don't want to forget those facets of like connecting work and money, which is very, very important. So I love it. All right. The next clip is an interview that I wish I was sitting in on. But first, I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. So you guys, health insurance costs are only moving one way, and that way isn't down. And the wait times are getting longer, and it's harder than ever to get anything approved. So if you feel like the system is working against you, try Christian Healthcare Ministries, a biblically based alternative to health insurance. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families take care of healthcare costs, stay true to their values, and avoid getting tied down with miles of red tape. Because you guys, there is a better way. And CHM programs start as low as $98 a month. So find out more and join at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. All right, video number 2 is with Gwyneth Paltrow, and she is on Hailey Bieber's podcast. And this was a really interesting conversation.
I was actually having a discussion with someone yesterday about the whole idea of nepotism. And I think this is really interesting to ask you because obviously you have this insane career. I would love to hear your perspective on that.
I mean, I think it's fair, right? Because as the child of somebody, you get access that other people don't have, right? So the playing field is not level in that way. However, I really do feel that once your foot is in the door, which you unfairly got in, then you have to work almost twice as hard and be twice as good because people are ready to pull you down and say you don't belong there and you're only there because of your dad or your mom or whatever the case may be. And it shouldn't limit you because what I definitely believe is that nobody in the world, especially anybody that doesn't know you, should have a negative impact on your path or the decisions that you make.
I agree. Oh, I'm like, I need to hear this today.
I thought that was a really level-headed take from her because I do think there's a level of awareness, being self-aware of like, hey, this situation, it is different than the rest of the world out there, my specific situation, but also I have to be able to deliver, right? And I think the same thing when it comes to money and our kids of like, if you are getting out of debt, you know, you have your emergency fund, you're funding retirement, and this idea of leaving a legacy, you know, for your children, inheritance, your children's children, as scripture talks about, like, there is something to be said of like, they need to be aware of what has been handed down to them. Is that is a responsibility. And that is different than how a lot of people are. And that awareness is so, so important. But also you have to be able to handle it well. You have to have the tools and the talent to be able to handle that responsibility. So whether it is a job or money, whatever it looks like, I think both of those factors are so key. So I always think it's interesting. So as parents out there, I want to encourage you again to be able that when you're raising your kids, again, whether they're getting an opportunity in a business or they're getting an opportunity financially, that is different in the world, that there's gratitude and awareness around that. But then also having the confidence to say, yeah, but I'm going to have to deliver because if not, the real world will come back at them. And so there's something to say about being successful in that. That is really important. So whether it's handling the responsibility of a job or money, that is really key for them to see. Now, if you want the real scoop on wealth building and parenting, then check out What Everyone Gets Wrong About Generational Wealth. You can click here for that, or if you're listening on podcasts, click the link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.
So one of the questions I get asked all the time when people find out that I don't have a credit card is, how do you travel? How do you online shop? How do you rent a car? How do you do all this? And the simple answer is a debit card. Debit card will do everything a credit card will do except get you into debt. Now, with a credit card, obviously people are used to credit cards, so there's really no friction. With a debit card, there's chances are that there's a rental car company that won't rent to you, but Winston and I rent all the time, so find another company. Online, again, you can use a debit card. It works. Basically anything. So the whole idea that you have to have a credit card just for basic life necessities to use in 2023 can be solved with a debit card. Your money coming out of your account. And the great thing is too, statistically, you will save money by doing this because so many studies show that when you spend with a credit card, you emotionally are not connected to that money. So you tend to spend anywhere from 12 to 18% more on a credit card versus a debit card. You swipe a debit card and you know that this money is coming out of your accounts. Your own money is being spent, so you think twice, even subconsciously, about the purchase. So debit cards is the way to go.
All right, trigger warning. Are you ready? Retirement investing. Yeah, 2 words that can instantly send people into a complete spiral. But listen, it doesn't have to be that way. So today I'm going to make things very simple and share 5 numbers that you need to know when it comes to investing and your retirement. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video with a friend who may love it. All right, we're going to talk through some numbers when it comes to retirement investing. And the first number is 15%. Okay, this is your goal. It is 15% of your take-home pay going into retirement. So that is going to be your goal. Now, before you do that, I want you to be completely debt-free, everything but your house, and to have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund set aside. Okay, so those 2 things need to be in place because when you're trying to do a bunch of things, and that's what most people do, they're like putting some percentages into retirement, usually like 5 or 6% here. You know, they're trying to maybe like keep up with some debt, maybe try to pay it off, trying to save for something here. I mean, they're trying to do like 18 things at once with their money, and you just don't make a lot of progress when you do that. So what we have found is if you actually pause retirement investing, pay off all of your debt, which will take on average around 2 years, then get an emergency fund, a fully funded emergency fund at 3 to 6 months of expenses, then go press play on retirement. And instead of just the 4, 5, 6% that some people do, 15%. Which can seem like a lot, but it actually catches you up on the times you've paused and is going to give you plenty of money at retirement. And so when you look at this 15%, a couple things to remember. If you do have an employer match when it comes to your 401k, their contribution does not count. So let's say they match you 5%. So 15%, take minus 5 of your money, then you have 10% left. The 5% that they match you does not count in this equation. So when you look at it, you know, your 401k, Roth IRA, all of these, you know, are great options when it comes to retirement. But remember, 15% of your income going into retirement. Now, that subject of 401k brings me to number 2, another number that you need to know, a 401k or a 403b. So these are 2 options when it comes to retirement that your employer will offer you. And they're basically retirement accounts. So you can put your money in, they'll invest it on your behalf, right? And then you actually go in and tell them where you want it invested into mutual funds and all of it. But that covering is a 401k, and most employers will actually match you the percentage of your income that you put in. And so it's a company benefit. And if you work for the government, it's going to be a 403b, not a 401k. It's so funny. I saw on Instagram and I actually reposted it because it made me laugh of this clip of Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. And they're like sitting like with this like investment person. And they're like, what do you mean? Do we have enough for retirement? I don't know. And so she's giving them numbers. And Will Ferrell's like, no, but we have $401,000 in this account. She was like, no, that's your 401k. I was like, okay. So again, 401k is always through your employer versus like a Roth IRA. If you earn income, anyone can, you know, apply for a Roth IRA, but your employer hopefully will have a 401k for you as a company benefit, which is great. And then when you think about a 401k versus a Roth IRA, remember this, match beats Roth beats traditional. So always go up to your company match, and then whatever's left in your 15%, go and fund your Roth IRA. And then if you have any money left after you've maxed out your Roth IRA, then you can move that money back over to your 401k and finish, you know, putting money into there. But that's kind of the formula. Match beats Roth beats traditional. All right, number 3. 7 years. So this is kind of a trick that I use in my head if I'm having to do fast math. When you're looking at your investing, your accounts, you're looking at retirement, all the things. If you have money in an investment and you don't put another penny in, There's like this rule of like every 7 years, your money's going to double. So if you need some quick math when it comes to retirement, I love this because you can kind of instantly see, okay, I have this amount. How much will I have in, by the time I'm 65? And if you don't have a calculator right there or your phone, which everyone will, but you can just be like, okay, every 7 years, it's going to double. Do the quick math to get you what you need to know. All right, spoiler alert. The 2 most controversial numbers are coming up next. But first, I do want to tell you about something that is a total no-brainer, and that is Christian healthcare ministries. When you go against what society thinks is, quote, normal, it might seem weird at first, but that is totally okay because we want you to be weird if that means you're doing things intentionally, including how you spend your healthcare dollars. And one way to be intentional is with Christian healthcare ministries. CHM isn't health insurance. They're a health cost-sharing ministry that's helped hundreds of thousands of families like yours take care of healthcare costs without sacrificing their freedom. Programs start as low as $98 a month. Find out more and join at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. All right, number 4. The next number to remember is a 10% rate of return. So people love and hate our rates of return that we throw out for examples here at Ramsey. Some experts will use like 5 to 7%, but you guys, that is like very low. Where again, for years, we used 12% at Ramsey because it is showing the average, but you can expect anywhere from 10 to 12% and even more. And again, it's going to depend on the year, but even last year, like when we looked back, I mean, it was insane. We had, Winstonite, which again, are not like secret mutual funds, but they were just out there for anyone to find. And they were like 18%. So like, it is wild. If it is a good year, you're going to do great. And if it's not a great year, that's okay too. That's going to happen. But again, the 10% rate of return is a pretty standard way to calculate what you're going to have and what you're going to see when it comes to your interest over the long haul when you're looking at your retirement. So if you are doing the math there, use the Ramsey investment calculator. But 10% is great. But even 12% is very realistic as well. And this is one reason we also say to diversify your investments, because when you actually don't have everything in one single stock, that one stock may do great, may not. But when you diversify into mutual funds, those are 90 to 200 stock. And so it is great to see like, okay, it's spread out amongst a lot of different companies. So if the economy is doing great and doing fine, you're going to see that rate of return, which is awesome. All right, the 5th and final number to remember is an 8% withdrawal rate. So 8% is what we say at Ramsey when you go to withdraw the percentage every single year when it comes to retirement. And so there's some controversy around this because it is a pretty aggressive percentage, I would say. Some industry, say 4 to 5%. But again, you can kind of calculate and just understand that when it comes to inflation, this is what you're looking at because you're saying, okay, here's what my money's going to grow to. Here's going to be the reality of living and then, 30 years from now and what things are going to cost. And if you take money out, again, 8%, if you're making 12% of your money, you're going to be fine. But the more conservative approach is around that more 4%. So again, talk to your investment professional when you're looking at all of this, especially if you're getting close to retirement age, because that percentage is going to be important to you. Now, you can memorize dozens of retirement numbers, but ultimately what's going to give you peace of mind is having a professional guide you. So I just mentioned a investment professional, but again, having somebody that does this day in and day out is so key. So I highly recommend connecting with a SmartVestor Pro. I'll leave a link down below so you can get connected if you want to, but sitting with someone to look at all the numbers of your investing, especially when it comes to retirement, is so, so key. And at any stage of investing, you definitely want to catch my episode on how to invest the right way in 2025. You can click right here, or if you're listening on podcast, I will put a link in the description. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love. So I've seen a lot of buzz around prenups lately. And after 15 years in the personal finance space, my thoughts on this one have kind of evolved. So let's have a little prenup heart to heart. And at the end, I'll share my number 1 tip on building wealth with your spouse. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. So first, I want to share a recent social media clip on this topic because on the Ramsey Show, we get calls about prenups, and actually within a week, we had 2 different calls with 2 different situations, and we answered them in 2 different ways because of it. So here's the first one.
My fiance and I are both 36 years old. We're looking to start a Brady Bunch. We've got 5 kids between 10 and 12 between us. So the reason I'm calling is because we have a pretty large difference in assets. So I have roughly $12 million and she has roughly 50,000. And so we started the process of looking into a prenup, and it's been an emotional one. And I totally understand why. So, I mean, she feels like I wouldn't be fully entering the marriage in the same way that she is, because it feels like I'm holding assets like separately off to the side. I'm just looking for maybe more clarity and like what you guys would recommend.
I think it is a wise decision to do one. You're hoping and praying, obviously, that this is the one and that it's going to last a lifetime. But as you guys have experienced, there is a reality to all of this. And whenever any of us get married, right? I think there is like this, okay, I'm choosing you for a reason and for a lifetime. But we also don't live under a rock and know that things change in life and situations come up. And unfortunately, some really hard things happen and does causes marriages to break up, right? To enter into divorce. And we don't want that. I think it can feel like the 12 million's off in this corner and we're never going to participate in it. But I think it comes into it's mine if something happens. But up until that point, it's ours. Like we're sharing assets.
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
Like we are living our lives together as one. But for some reason, if something ever happened in a divorce, this part still goes back to me. So this is a great example of when a prenup is probably wise. So if you do have a major discrepancy in your money and in your wealth going into a marriage, that is the one time I would say, hey, just think about it, because it does a couple of things. Number one, I think it just kind of clears up any level of subconsciousness of someone marrying you for your money. Like, right? If you're like, hey, you're not going to get this if this ends, then them going into the marriage, like, I don't know, there's a level there that there's kind of some peace. Also, it can kind of keep some crazy family away if they know they're not going to get anything if something happens. And then also, there's just something to be said about managing your money well. And if you don't, then the state and lawyers can really end up deciding where your money goes. Now, I'm saying all this to say if there is a major discrepancy, okay? So if it is a car, no, you do not need a prenup. But if there is millions of dollars, that is a difference. That is the one time. But again, my original knee-jerk reaction to prenups is usually no. I don't like them. There's something about it that I'm like, ugh. I hate going in already planning for it to end. It's kind of what it can feel like. But after taking so many calls on the Ramsey Show, there is this feeling of, okay, if you do have and have built something substantial, like there is safety to kind of keep that at bay and to say, hey, if there is something going on. But also in the marriage, which I am not a divorce lawyer, so take this with a grain of salt because this can be considered commingling. But the money that you do have and the resources you do have, you all use that together. Like see it still as yours because you are going to be able to build a life together. And that's ultimately what I want for married couples when it comes to your money, that you're on the same team. You're not against each other. You are working together. So prenup or not, wanting that to be the bulk of the marriage going in, like knowing like we are together and we are one. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there was a second call that we got on the Ramsey Show. Now, before we get to that clip, I want to tell you about Delete Me. If you don't remove your personal data from the internet, it's basically like a billboard for everyone to see because your name, address, email, even your kids' names are out there on sketchy data broker websites. And you see data brokers collect your data, sell it, and that puts you at risk for scams and fraud. But the good news is Delete Me removes your data to help protect you from phishing, harassment, and other online threats. Your family's safety and financial security are way too important to leave exposed. So go to joindeleteme.com/Rachel for 20% off their annual plans, bringing your monthly cost to under $9. Or you can just click the link in the description. All right, here's the second clip of where I answered it a little differently.
I've been dating my boyfriend for about a year now, and we're starting to talk about marriage. He's Australian, and basically we were talking about finances, and he would want to keep them like completely separate. He earns like a little over double what I earn. He just bought his first house as well, and it concerns me. He also mentioned maybe wanting me to sign a prenup, and I just feel not secure maybe marrying and having kids with somebody who feels finances should be 100% separate. So we were talking about it last night, actually, and he was saying, well, I don't believe that it would be our money, if we were married. What I earn is like my money.
So it would be his house, his money, and you just get the privilege of living there at a discounted rate? Is that what this future looks like?
Basically, I don't think he sees it that way, but
You guys are about to share a bed. You're going to have kids and share genetics that are running around in front of you. Like you're sharing every other part of your life.
And yet you have to Venmo him for Outback Steakhouse?
It's a business relationship, not a romantic, you know what I mean? Not a partnership.
And it causes financial infidelity down the line because you have no say or transparency into what he's doing with money.
Mm-hmm.
He could have a spending addiction that you're totally unaware of because you don't see the account. You don't have access to the account.
Is he bringing in a lot of money? Does he have like millions of dollars in an account that he's bringing in?
No, he's making about 85. And he works.
Okay, all right. Hold on. Can we hold on?
I thought this guy
Shelby.
was like a multimillionaire.
I know.
Shelby, I thought he was making like I thought he was a surgeon. I thought he was making $500,000 to $600,000, and you're like, I'm making $150,000. I don't know. He's making $85,000. I'm sorry. Get off your high horse.
Yep.
I can't. Oh, I can't. Well, I'm like, I'm sorry. Your little ego is so inflated at 85. Like 85 is great. Listen, it's
like,
great.
Hey, babe, let me handle it. I'm the breadwinner here.
I know.
You know what? What
You're
happens
not even making six figures, dude. Like,
what happens if you make more than him? Then do you get control of the board?
Well, that's been a lot of my issue because I've told him, if this is how we entered a marriage, at some point, because of some other circumstances, I could see maybe in the future I may earn more. His job is very physical. If he loses it, that's it's going to be an issue. And if I do earn more later on and you have an issue, I'm going to feel like, well, I hope you figure it out because that's how you treated me. And that's not the mindset I'm wanting to go into.
Either way, the relationship is ruined.
And you're already going into scorekeeping. Like even that scenario. And you're not even married yet. You know what I mean? Okay, so in the comments of this video, everyone's like, what? You're a hypocrite. You told him not to get a prenup. But you told the other person you did. Yeah, the other person had $12 million. This guy in this clip, he's making 85, which is great, right? Like that's great. But to make you feel like, oh, I'm making 85 right now. And by you making, 50, there's a discrepancy there. So I'm going to be the one to say, hey, we need a prenup for this. That feels wrong to me. There's something about that I'm like, no, you guys are too close in what is going on in your financial situation. That putting a prenup, I think that complicates things. So there is something really powerful, again, about knowing, hey, we're going into this marriage and what's mine is yours, and there's something beautiful. But again, for all married couples, my goal for you is to work together, to be on the same page, to budget together. If you need a great budgeting app, EveryDollar is an incredible tool. I'll put a link down below for that. But honestly, being able to come together emotionally, mathematically, financially, all the things, and see yourselves as a team, we find that you win with money faster when you are together and not trying to build two different financial lives. Now, if you think the prenup conversation is full of hot takes, you haven't seen anything yet, check out The Only Exception to My No Debt Policy is coming up next. You can go here, or if you're listening on podcast, I'll put a link below. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.